Hey sprinters, I have a question for you. Which of these two options would you describe yourself best as? Are you narrow and deep, or are you shallow and wide? Narrow and deep, shallow and wide. I would say my brother and I are opposites. He would be the shallow and wide. He's an editor of a newspaper. So he needs to know a lot about a lot of things and have a really wide perspective, and maybe not as depth in these because there's so many different things. I'm completely the opposite. I am narrow with a few areas of topics, and I go really, really deep. And the idea of a sprint is to take one thing, one narrow thing, and go deep with it for 45 days to look at all these different topics. From concentration here, from the power of attention, we are finishing the third week, power of attention, day 21, which is deep work. So sprinters, again, today here to brighten, lighten, and ignite your day on that concept of deep work, because we're just taking one thing and going deeper. So you've thought about many of these topics before or have heard of them, but you've probably never really taken just one thing and looking at a wide angle view on this. It's like a camera. You can look into a camera and it can look kind of blurry, but when you get that complete focus, you can see exactly what you want to do. And that's what we've been working on, is getting really, really deep and doing deep work. So there's a book that I recommend by Cal Newport called Deep Work, and he talks about the importance of it in the society now because of the instant everything, how we're able to get access to so much information so quick that we're losing our power to go deep with things because we're so used to quick, here. We're losing it. Our brain is literally getting rewired differently, especially from the young folks at an age who haven't necessarily learned that deep concentration. So he talks about that there's 4 rules that we need to think through, and I'm going to go through those with you. The first rule is to work deeply. And that's what we are doing. We are taking one thing and working deeply. And he said, you know, it's interesting, he's a professor, and while he was writing his book, he also published the most articles he's ever published while working deeply. There's just a different level of intensity and concentration, everything that we've talked about so far, that allows him to work deeply. He said, number 2, you have to embrace boredom. So we can't always be filling up our mind with other things to do. We have to leave those white spaces. We have to leave time, effort, and energy out there so that we can mold and different ideas we can ponder. So for example, with doing this, I've had to leave a lot of white space and really ponder these topics and leave that intention to be downloaded to me on what it is exactly that I want to share with you. So I haven't been bored with trying to do other little things because I'm working on this one thing with you, right? So you got to embrace that boredom so you can use it to what matters. Quit social media. Now he said this one has gotten an interesting response because so many people love social media for personal and professional life. He said the thing is, social media is often very shallow. You just get a little bits of information from a lot of different people. He said that's fine, but if you're doing deep work, there are things you are going to need to quit, maybe things like social media, or maybe you don't need to be in all 5 different social media areas and just really focus on one that matters most. But you know, what is it around those things in your life to quit? And then drain the shallows. Drain the shallows. So the things that don't matter to you, let them go down the drain. So we're going to use these 4 rules to do for your 1, 2, 3. So I thought the simplest way to do that would be, it'll all go under the umbrella of working deeply. Okay, so there's those times you've had deep concentration. When I was doing my sprint to create my MBA program, I had 3 days to finish 3 pieces of the puzzle, where before I would have 1 piece of the puzzle the week to work on it. And it was, I had to truly work so deeply those 3 days to focus and get it done. It was possible, but every moment was filled on that. And I embraced the boredom to do that. So your one and done is to embrace the boredom. Where do you see boredom in your life? Or if you don't have any, you need to create some. That means create the space. Might be a better way. So that you have extra space. Again, remember that big vase to receive the capacity that you need to do your deep work. So your 2 good for you is to quit blank, okay? So I'll let you think about the things to quit. I know in one of the other days, there was the no's list. Remember there were 10 kind of top no's that you could stop doing. So you can go back to those for ideas, but what specifically for you do you need to quit doing? So I'll just give you an example. I've had to be really intentional about what extra things I'm gonna take on right now. So like maybe this week I focused on, one of my boys is in Destination Imagination, and I intentionally waited for weeks until this one week I could just focus on that and get it up and going. Now that that's kind of running, then I can go to something else. And there's another nonprofit group that I'm interested in finding out more, but I've waited for months to even reach out and follow up with them until I feel like it's the right time. So what are the things that you need to quit? And then drain the shallows. What are the things that just need to go down the drain because they don't really add value to you? And there's just many little shallow things that take up our time and energy, and I encourage you to think in perspective with your number one goal. Does that really matter? Is this networking group that you belong to, is that really helping you get that? Or this person's blog that you follow, or this hobby that you're doing, or this TV show, you know, who knows, whatever shallows might be lurking in front of you, what are you going to go down the drain? Whew. Take a deep breath. You have been working hard, you've been working deeply. I'm so proud of you. And it's normal at this point to feel like, okay, I've been doing a lot of the mental, emotional things, but maybe you haven't been making as much like tangible progress on your goal. And yes, you have. I'm going to totally argue with you. You might not see that tangible, but if you know, next week, it's the power of the go. We are moving to getting ignited. But this work is critical. It's so critical that you've done all this mental and concentration, because we are in the set mode, power of attention. It's on your marks, get set, and we're going to be ready to go next week. So I can't wait to go with you. From my heart to yours, be love.